you're celebrating a 10-year anniversary.
I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Could you share a little bit with our audience about what that 10-year anniversary is?
Sure. So, just over 10 years ago, about 10 and a half years ago, I started having severe migraines. I've had headaches my whole life, but I started having migraines that were off the charts. And I went and saw my doctor. They had some MRIs done. And she called me up to her office. I sat they sit me in a waiting room for her. Everybody leaves. I'm watching like all the lights go off and my doctor comes in and she's got this huge manual in her hands. And she sets it down on the table in front of me and flips it open to a picture of a brain and says, I know since I've made you wait so long, you probably already know what I'm about to tell you. You have a brain tumor. And it was just like they say, like it was an out of body experience. She kept talking, she was talking. And I remember her saying, would you like me to prescribe you some Valium? A lot of people that get a diagnosis like this, like to have that. And I remember thinking, God, this is serious.
Yeah.
Like, how many times do you get offered Valium with a diagnosis?
Yeah.
Um, what we ended up finding after 6 months of visiting different doctors and specialists is I had something that's called a vagal schwannoma, which is a rare brain tumor that wraps itself around your vagus nerve.
Say that again. A vagal schwannoma?
Vagal schwannoma.
Schwannoma.
Vagal schwannoma. And the vagus nerve, among other things, controls your vocal cords. And because it controls your vocal cords, it also controls your ability to eat and swallow without choking.
It's got
So
a lot of power.
your vocal cords open and close over your esophagus so that you don't choke
Okay.
when you are swallowed, right? Like
Yeah.
not your esophagus, like you're over your like oh my god, you guys.
Throat.
To say
Your throat.
words?
Yeah. Yeah, like to protect your lungs so that you don't choke,
Sure.
right? When you're
Yeah.
eating or drinking. And so the diagnosis I was given is that this tumor had wrapped itself around that nerve, and I had a couple options. I could wait and see, and that was not a great option because if it were to continue to grow, it could have been irreversible.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could get surgery to have it removed. And that wasn't the best option because even surgery could have damaged that nerve. They gave me a 90% chance I would need a feeding tube.
90.
90% chance. But I'll be honest with you guys, after hearing you have a brain tumor, I I had no experience prior to that to know that hearing like that a brain tumor could be benign.
Yeah.
I just took brain tumor as a death
Yep,
sentence,
Yeah.
that's it.
right? And how much time do I have, right? And so hearing that I might need a feeding tube, um, I still thought, my gosh, I'm still going to be here.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm still going to be here. So I can do this. I remember them asking me, are you in a career that requires you to communicate a lot?
I'm only in communications, but
Yeah, and this is when I was at Harvester Works with the Gold Key tours. When I went through this, and as it turns out, certainly I'm speaking to you now, and gosh, it's emotional for me to even be able to do interviews like this at this time, right? Sometimes you kind of forget. But I ended up getting surgery at Mayo, and I woke up with the ability to speak in a semi whisper, voice of some kind. And so I knew immediately that I had a chance, right? That maybe
Yeah.
the vocal cords wouldn't be quite as damaged as they had anticipated.
Mhm.
It took me a few months. I couldn't really eat without choking for a few months, but clearly the nerve bounced back. And
So now, if you compare your voice today
yeah,
to maybe a home video of you before, is it
it's
similar?
deeper.
Oh, it is
It's
deeper. Okay.
deeper. Yeah.
Good for radio
Yeah.
and podcast.
Yeah. So did you have to go to like a bunch of speech therapy and everything to get your voice back?
I did a little bit. I did a little bit of physical therapy afterwards. I was consulting with Iowa City and their ear, nose, and throat specialists. But ultimately, it's kind of funny because at the time I was late 30s and I was considered young. Like at the time, we were also trying to have a baby and I was considered old. So,
Yeah.
they just, said that because of how young I was, that nerve just was able to heal itself and bounce back. And
That's great.
yeah,
We're
huge
super glad
blessing.
it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge
That's awesome.
blessing. Yeah.